Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. My name is Joe, and today we are talking about the Lost Metal, chapters 44 through 49, wherein our heroes make a door and go into a dark room and go into a movie theater, not realizing what they're actually doing. We find out that this has all been a big ruse to make it appear as if the world's going to end. At least that's what they're using the studios for. Wax escapes the mansion, mastermind style. We talked about that film before, right? And then he runs into Wayne. Wayne talks about, Wayne stuff as he does. Marisai and the team go down an elevator, find Entrone, find some people getting soul sucked. It's pretty messed up. And we're back with Tenson. We find out the bands have been drained. It's not good. And then the ambassador guy takes him. Also not good. And then Wayne and Wax face down some opponents and narrowly escape. So that's what we're diving into this week. With me, as always,
it's Data,
Jack,
and Jamie.
We're all here and we're ready to talk about these chapters. Hold on to everybody. That's not it. Cut that in. Anyway, hold on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Hold on to everybody because, everybody needs a hug sometimes.
Somebody hold on to me.
No man can truly outlast all the mistakes of his past. There's no haven here for me that's safe from my memories. But when your borrowed time is through, I'll be with you.
So yeah, that was there's some interesting, some fun stuff. I like the way that Joe was like people getting their souls sucked. It made me think of Dementors.
Yep, sure.
And I'm like, it wasn't quite Dementor level, but it wasn't great. So what did you guys think of these 6 chapters?
Dementors don't have knives.
It's true.
I mean, would that make them scarier or less scary?
Hey, these chapters were all right. The most exciting part to me was the fight near the end and of the section that we read, and it was pretty rough. Honestly, our heroes got beat up pretty good, and it seems like Wayne has run out of healing before they've gotten to the main event. So that definitely doesn't bode well for him. I think that kind of ties into my theory that maybe we may be seeing the end of Wayne here. But yeah, other than that, good stuff. I don't have a lot to say out at the outset here, other than I enjoyed it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, he's already, you're right, running kind of low. Maybe he's got a backup metal mine somewhere.
We were in his perspective, so I don't really feel like he would hide that from his own brain. It doesn't seem that Wayne-ish to do.
Yeah, it's always a more edge of your seat story. If he's like, oh, I don't have much health left, and then he heals like 5 more things, and you're like, okay, well, our opinions on what counts as much health are apparently different.
Yeah, it was good fun. I remember thinking about when you were specifically asking us about the photo, and like we're all just like, well, it's got to be real. None of us ever think they could have just faked it. So that was just a bit of a, that was anticlimactic. Just because, we're in a crazy universe with weird powers and like angry gods and all this other stuff. You don't, and then you get presented with this mystery. It's like, oh my god, how do they do this? You don't expect, it's fake, to be the answer. That just seems like kind of a, all right, sure.
Yeah, the characters didn't expect that either, because I think when they get in there, like, isn't the first thing someone says is like, did they create a window into the future? As if that's like way more reasonable than any other explanation.
But yeah, no, it was good. Again, more setup, and I agree with Joe. It really looks like Wayne is going to cark it by the end of this book, unless they're leaning on it so hard to make it look like that, and something else is going to happen. So he could still become Death. But yeah, no, the fight scene was good. It was gratifying to see. It's like, they like these other two are really good with their abilities enough to pose a credible threat. Because I did think initially, it's like, now that they know these guys are coming, like, well, we have way more experience with our abilities, and they did touch on that with Wayne, but it still became apparent, like, experience isn't everything. So yeah, that was fun.
I honestly expected it to count for more than it seems to in this fight, but I think so did they. So maybe that's kind of the point.
Yeah, maybe they just thought, well, we got experience. We're obviously going to be better. Like, and then they just disabused the shit out of that notion.
Yep, that's a thing that happened. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I also wonder how much like them not being as experienced with fighting people with multiple powers comes into play here, because it's like, yeah, I'm experienced, but my experience doesn't always prepare me for somebody who could do like 3 or 4 powers as opposed to 1 or 2.
They got complacent. Yeah, I see that.
Well, because I mean, yeah, no one has ever since the Mistborn days, no one has ever fought somebody with that many powers. So yeah.
Yep, fair point. They fought other Twinborn though, yeah.
Yeah. So they fought people with 2.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Miles and such.
2 for 2 powers. Oh, that's nothing. 3 powers. Whoa.
But I guess the thing is that once they've got 3, how many could they have? And we've opened up that possibility of they can keep going. There isn't a limit to the number of spikes. So just because you sussed out their power doesn't mean you sussed out all their powers, and they could have something in reserve. So
yeah.
They could hit you with it right when it would be the worst and you're not expecting it, which is, I think, like during this fight, Wax or Wayne won. It's like, crap, does this guy have pewter also? Like trying to figure it out, because that would be important to know.
Yep.
And also just the sheer like hand-to-hand combat as well. When Wayne's like, man, I have not put that much effort into mine. Like, this is definitely an advantage. I'm better at my power, but when our powers cancel each other out a little bit, it's not much use.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dak, I cut you off.
No, that's all good. I was done anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I completely agree that the last fight scene, you sort of have that moment, like my brain is very distracted a lot of the time, and I find I have to sort of go back and reread something or whatever, because I'm thinking about something else while I'm reading, which is really annoying. But that last scene when Wayne's fighting, I think the way it was written and the way it was playing out, I was captivated. And if I was sitting on a seat proper, I was on the edge of it. I was like, this doesn't look good. They'll pull through it, at least in this one, because we're not close enough to the end. But it wasn't looking good for them. And yeah, Wayne's healing is definitely setting it up for things to not go well. And he's coming back to that story that his mum told as well. And I'm like, this is not filling me with warm and fuzzy feelings for Wayne. But we have already thought about ideas for them. I actually really liked that first scene, watching Twin Soul and Moonlight and Marasai sort of get down to the caverns. And finally, the women. We found some. I think they're the same women. I hope they're the same women. Otherwise, it still is questions we haven't answered. But that's terrifying what they're doing there. But watching their powers work together, make a door, okay, make a ladder, that was very cool. I'm a little worried for Twin Soul, but that's okay. We'll see what happens to him eventually. But no, overall, good chapters. Still sort of furthering the story, but we've definitely again got that sense of urgency coming through from Wax and Wayne figuring out the timeline as well, that it's all happening now. So yeah. And I think because we are on a planet that has powers and we know that there's certain advancements in technology, never occurred to me that they would have a dark room or anything to develop film. It's something you just don't think about, really, even though there's been hints to it. Wait till you see the pictures moving. It's like, well, clearly they have some kind of technology to do that sort of stuff. But yeah, never pieced it together. Shocked.
Well, yeah, and I mean, they have pictures that Marasai knows about already, even without, the moving pictures. So I guess she's just never encountered, dark rooms before, which I assume are a thing even without movie cameras. But
yeah, well, they've been clearly developing film and this picture, and I think we do tend to think about something on a much larger scale. Like I can't remember if it was Dak or Joe saying, but clearly it was a time traveler. I was definitely on the time traveler avenue, but as simple as, I don't know if they just have the technology to create a miniature and shoot it. They're just filmmakers.
Yep, it was really funny to me how that never even occurred to me, something like that. When I saw the picture, I was just like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? No,
it has to be way more mysterious. Yeah.
How much do you think it's worth? It's fake, man.
I do like what you said about the fight, because on the one hand, it's like, come on, we're halfway through the book. We know Wax and Wayne are gonna die in this fight, but it's an intense fight. nonetheless. And honestly, going into it my first time, I was like, is this the right point in the book for these two to die? Like the evil twins. Are they going to go down here, or are we going to have to see them again? And I feel like it actually ends that kind of ambiguously.
I don't think we have
Well,
seen the last of them.
I would say at least one of them we probably haven't seen the last of. The other one's a little.
Yeah, that's right. For one of them,
Unsure.
it was a little ambiguous.
Yeah.
But it would be weird if that was the last that we saw him. It's like, oh, by the way, those guys died. Moving on. But see, at least they've already got more personality than the like random two guys in the other books that Dax always angry about getting killed.
Yeah.
Angry's not the right word. I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever.
I guess there was no point to those guys.
Yeah. It's not go angry. It's more just like that's kind of a waste. But oh well, moving on. Like there's just not enough personality to really spare the thought.
Yeah. It's like push and pull were probably such complicated dudes under those like suits or whatever they were wearing in Alloy of Law.
Yeah.
We never learned how Push was alcoholic because he was in so much debt, and Pull was like sort of foregoing the mortgage payments on his house to try and help Push out of his debt. Like they had a real thing going on. We never got to see it.
Yeah, that's true. They always struck me as the guys from Venture Brothers. Like, where do you find the shit tickets in this place? What are the two suit guys?
Yeah, the lepidopterists.
Yeah, the lepidopterists.
I forget what their names are. Hold on. Yeah, well,
is that a word?
It is. It's like someone who studies butterflies. But it's because in the first episode where they show up, they work for this secret organization, so they have to pretend that they're not secret agents or whatever. And so it's like, who are you guys? And they're like, we're lepidopterists. It's like, you want to see my coin collections? Maybe if we were philatelists, which we're not. But yeah, they are Agent Cardholder and Agent Doe. So yeah, those that's a good point. That does kind of remind me of them.
A mate of mine did lend me a couple of years back the full series of Venture Brothers, and I haven't watched it yet. I really need to do that.
Love that show. Great show. All about Zane and Ellen Venture. As far as any of you people know.
Yeah, it's true. I think we made that joke back in the day. When we were
I'm sure we did.
Almost certain we did.
Go Team Venture.
Okay, let's get into these chapters. On that note, so we start with Marasai, and I agree with what Jamie said. Is like this is a fun team, and really we find out in these chapters how useful Moonlight and Twin Soul are to have around. Like these are good people to have in a pinch, it seems like. And so she's introspecting again, as you do. She's like, all this stuff has been going on. Have I been too focused on like being a detective and the day-to-day stuff and been ignoring like the big issues? Maybe I should be paying more attention to secret organizations and like people building city destroying bombs. And so then they see the Lord Mayor of Bilming show up, and they're shouting, and she's like, I'm pretty sure I heard the name Don shot in there. And Mary's like, well, that guy's agitated. Twin Soul's like, probably doesn't appreciate his home being burned down.
All right, so I made a note there. How do they know that?
Well, in the previous section, they saw like plumes of smoke rising from the mansion in the distance.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess it'd been too long since I read that previous section. I was like, how did they know about that?
Yeah, Twin Soul's like, maybe Dawnshot is being particularly, what does he say? It's a great line, and I don't remember exactly how it goes. Oh, I totally skipped over. I'm sorry. We're gonna go back and do the broadsheet.
Oh yeah.
After I get the he says perhaps Dawnshot is being extra difficult. So the broadsheet is basically the majority of the story of Nikki Savage or Nichelle Sauvage and the I forget even what the story is called overall. Hold on. It's called The Compass of Spirits. And so we know, or we were pretty sure based on the map that was stolen in the previous book, we see that Naz makes notations on this ripped map, and then we see in the story the haunted man ripping the map and getting the part that we saw. So it's like, okay, it seems like the haunted man is probably Naz, who we've seen notating maps throughout the Cosmere books and stuff. And in this bit of the story, Nikki is they're flying through the air on the pterodactyl or whatever that the two Chandra have combined into, if everyone recalls.
The Ornosaur?
Yeah, the ornithosaur, whatever, something like that. And they're trying to get this compass from this lady. And there's like there was hitting people with a parasol before, which was my favorite bit. But in this section, they save this woman from falling, and then she tries to like fight back and ends up falling anyway. And maybe she's dead, maybe she's not. Who even knows? But the compass Nikki thinks went with her. And then Tabar Kaysun, the combined creature, opens their claw, and the compass is right there. And then there's this like romantic moment between Nikki and the haunted man, where it's like they're looking into each other's eyes. There's a picture of it in here with the ornithosaur in the background.
These two combined Kandra just in this massive pterosaur body and just going like, "Hey, you two should kiss."
They're doing the Sebastian Kiss the Girl song in the background.
Amazing.
And it's like he's pulling her close, and she's like, "Is he gonna kiss me? Do I want him to kiss me?" She's like, "We're gonna go off exploring the Cosmere together forever, just like we promised." And then he's like, I'm really sorry," as he steals the compass, turns the aluminum key, and then disappears with a pop. And she is mad. Like, he betrayed me, he knew that it would hurt me, and he did it anyway, along with the only way to finish the job. Now we're stuck here 1,000 miles from home in the space between continents. Maybe they're out on the those shrouded isles or whatever. And she's yelling some curses and apparently destroys her raven feather hat. And they're stuck.
I love that she was going to go, I'm not going to go into the details of my tantrum, but
Yeah.
it's roughly what happened.
And I thought he cared for me, and he knew the betrayal would hurt. And I want to know where they're stuck, but I guess that's not really super relevant. He's lucky I can't follow him. And then the two faceless immortals who have split, I guess, back into two.
They're just watching this going, it's like, all right, calm down, love.
Apparently her tantrum took so long that they like changed back into humans, and they're just like watching. And
like, you done, or are we gonna keep going, or okay, you're done. Okay, let's go.
One of them's like, should we say something? Like, no, just let this go, man.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to let this one play out, buddy.
So the compass allowed him to enter the ghostly dimension, which I'm assuming is the cognitive realm, although I guess we don't know that for sure. That certainly seems like the most likely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that apparently there is a device that lets you move back and forth. That could be important later.
Portable perpendicularity. We'll call it the
Yeah.
Porpec.
Apparently it's called the Compass of Spirits, which,
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
Yeah,
The fancier
Porpec sounds
name,
cool.
This is really expanding my mind on the possibilities for, Patreon stuff.
And so she's just like, he's just lucky I can't follow him. And the two of them are like, well, I mean, there is another way, which I assume they're talking about the perpendicularity.
See, I read that, and that makes a lot more sense what you say. I, in my dumbassitude, read that as, like, she's complaining because they're stuck in the middle of the ocean and they've got no way to get off it. And I'm like, you literally just saw these guys in a flying body. Like, they could just do that again and carry you home.
Yeah.
And so it ends with a note from Handerwim saying it's been 2 weeks since the last letter, but you know that her correspondence can be intermittent. I can only assume she succeeded in entering the ghostly realm. So
Hard to get post out from the ghostly realm.
yeah, it probably is, right? But so yeah, we may see Nikki like hopping around to different planets or something in the future. Who knows? And
I find
then
it fascinating that Handerwim is Mr. Skeptic for everything Jack says, but Nikki, he's like, yeah, I guess you just made it into Ghost Place. Yeah, I buy it.
I think he knows Jack well enough to know how full of shit that he probably is, and knows Nikki is not necessarily.
Yeah. He's I feel like he's more on board with Nikki's brand.
Yeah, fair enough.
Of course, it might not be. I mean, if he doesn't get to make his sarcastic comments, then maybe it's not nearly as fun.
True.
So then we get the ad. Nikki Savage is sponsored by Tobe's Accurate Sunni Pups. Trade in a historically erroneous Sunni Pup and get a brand new Professor Tober's Accurate Sunni Pup for a mere 5 spin. Patented pocket. So the accurate one has
the
a
patented pocket. Yeah, the patented skin pocket was kind of messed up, but also awesome.
Yeah, I was like, is that the accurate thing? Because, oh, wow. Did we need that?
Yeah. Well, it actually turns out that the professor is just Tensun in disguise.
Well, it's funny because we talked about the letter to the editor, and I was like, is Tensun just mad that like the inaccurate Sunni pups are out there? but it is Professor Tober who wrote the letter to the editor, and so now it sounds like he just wants people to buy his, and so he's trying to get that out there.
Sanderson went to him as a professor to like, hey, maybe you can convince the people to stop doing this, and this guy's tried to turn it into a monetary exercise, and Sanderson is just now even more pissed. Would you people stop making money off me?
I should get a cut of that at the very least. I'm just saying. So also, I like that it's a 5 spin, which is one of the coins that I got from the new set of coins that they made for Mistborn. A 5 spin is 50 clips, and the 5 spin coin has Tindwill on it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
1 Tindwill will get you a Sunni pup, an accurate Sunni pup. So that's a fun little broadsheet story, but I also just am interested in like the ramifications that it potentially has for the wider universe. Okay, back to the thing.
Meanwhile, back at the plot.
Yeah, right. So they see the mayor, all this stuff going on, and then Twinsoul manages to use his crystals to like peek inside by going between the boards a little bit. And he says Siljana senses a small room with cluttered shelves and small objects, no one inside. And if you go over there, there's no shelves on the wall. And so that's where they go to make a door. And this soul stamp works just like we've seen before. It sinks into the item and you turn it. And all of a sudden it's like platform, or not platform 9 3/4. It's like the entrance to Diagon Alley, where it's like the bricks just kind of unzip and reveal a doorway.
The most annoying thing to me about this, which it doesn't happen here, but just like how quick it fixes itself. So like when they're going down the elevator shaft later, she has to do it like 3 times. I'm like, man, that would be annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, for creating something out of nothing, it's a small price to pay. And apparently this is new technology. She's still working on it, so it's not perfect. And in this room, there's a bunch of small basins in the room that they get into, and a red light bulb. And she's just like, what is the deal with that red light? Why would you have a red light bulb? It barely makes any light. And yeah, the doorway disappears real quick. And she's like, Marisai goes, that is the most unnatural thing I've ever seen. And Moonlight says, you literally have a friend who can fly. And Marisai goes, and? I love how into it she is, that she's like, no, all the stuff that we can do is normal. Y'all do some weird shit. And in the next room, it is a pitch black chamber until they flip some switches, and all of a sudden there's the image of a crumbling city with ash falling from the sky. A moving image. She's shocked, I tell you. And Twinsoul is like, by the first Aether, what is it, a window into the future? And Moonlight is also like, I've never seen anything like this. But Marisai has seen a projection of an image before, not one that moved, but since Vendel specifically mentioned that Harmony said, like, oh, just wait till they start moving, she has a head start on everybody else here. And so it is a projector projecting this image of like a destroyed city with ash falling. And in the next room, they find the model that was filmed to create this video. And it is incredibly detailed. Like, they've got a box of ash to drop with tiny painted dead people and dead horses and ruined cars and all this stuff. So they were dedicated model builders. I imagine like the guys playing those tabletop war games where you paint all the little models.
We had him working for 5 years on this.
And she whispers with relief, it's a fake. They didn't travel to the future or the past. It's like, yeah, Marisai also thought it was time travel. And it turns out no. Watch, there's going to be some time traveling later, and it'll be it's going to be a double bluff.
For now, it's a bit of relief, and that's okay.
So they constructed a hoax to make people think the world had already ended. But why? Who knows?
Marijuana, but why? No, we know. I mean, they've got to have. At least this is my theory. I'm pimping it out there. They've got to have some kind of way to show autonomy that they've succeeded even if they fail.
Oh,
so this is a backup plan for like, no, you don't have to invade. Look, we did it. Look, here's a picture. Look, we even filmed it. Check it out. It happened. It's done.
100%.
We didn't make a tiny model of this. It's fine.
Yeah, we didn't make a tiny model. You don't go in that room. That next room over, just stay in the movie room. You don't need to go in there.
Because Autonomy knows nothing about art, she can't tell. It's like, wait a minute, that's just paint.
I wonder, since we found out that like this planet was the first one to have electricity other than Autonomy's home planet, do they have movies on Autonomy's home planet? Like how advanced are they? And okay, so they make their way into the elevator shaft to go down. He creates a ladder out of rosite crystal, taking a drink from his backpack full of water because that's important. And when they get to I'm sorry, that's the end of that chapter. I guess we'll get to the next thing. But next is Wax, who climbs down the hidden passage and finds himself in a room with some supplies, some rations, some water. He's like, okay, so this is like a little emergency bunker. Not like a long-term emergency bunker, but a short-term one. Okay. And he finds a hidden door in the bunker that leads into a sewer. Although not like a gross sewer like at the beginning, but just where rainwater gets out of the street, basically.
Sure.
And he's like, okay, I better get back up to the surface and find Wayne before going any further. They got a prearranged meeting spot, which is a bar because Wayne picked it, so of course it's a bar.
I just love the way that was written, because of course it is.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, Wax knows his buddy.
And he gets there and Wayne passes him a shot of whiskey and he drinks it and they pay and they leave. And so he shows Wayne what he found. And then he's like, Wayne's got burn marks on his trousers. And he's like, yeah, couldn't do Grandma's been at the vodka. Couldn't find a wig in time. So I did Flaming Bunny instead.
Which is just terrifying.
Please tell me you didn't set a rabbit on fire, Wayne. But of course not. I couldn't find a damn wig in time. Where would I find a rabbit? You use a cat for Flaming Bunny, and they're all over the dang place. This is just the best conversation. You set a cat on fire? Hell no. What do you think I am, a sadist? You throw the cat out the window.
Of course, it makes sense when you have a thing called Flaming Bunny.
Yeah.
Any animals that are on fire.
Flaming Bunny involves starting a fire, then you throw the cat out the window of the building that's on fire and start yelling to, about how you're saving stuff. So everyone wants to help you. Then you shout that someone has to save the bunny, and you lead everyone in to knock on the doors and get everyone out. And everyone gets all crazy and distracted helping you. And Wax is just like, oh my gosh, you set the mansion on fire. Oh, great. And then Wayne says, don't worry, I hucked the cat at a tree real good. Cats always land in trees so long as you throw them hard enough.
Oh my God. Wayne.
Why would you think that? I don't know, must learn it in school.
Know. A friend of mine in high school had a cat, and he would throw his cat out the window because the cat would always land in the tree. So while I don't condone this, there is some validity.
Some anecdotal evidence.
Yeah, some anecdotal evidence of this achievement.
He didn't go to school. He did burn a school down once, so maybe the cat thing was written on the board in there. When did you burn down a school? He's like, 9 years back. It was a damn evil school. And Wax is like, oh yeah, that was an evil damn school. Okay. This entire
So was it an
is
evil
so good.
school where they taught you how to make dams, or was it just a damn evil school?
No, dam is D-A-M, and this is D-A-M-N, so.
Oh, well, there goes that theory. Just have to scratch out all these notes I took about damn school. That's no good.
The lead teacher was a beaver.
Yeah.
Really?
Beaver
Nothing
teacher.
to that?
No, it took me a second to be like, huh, okay, yeah.
Beaver, yeah, okay.
And it turns out that some of these letters that he's found, he realizes there's that it's forged because he happened to be studying this person's writing in a bribery case not long ago. So he puts together that that Telson's plan is not just to bomb Ellendale, but to bomb Ellendale and then with forged letters make it look like it's Ellendel's fault, like they were developing this weapon. And that way the rest of the basin doesn't hate Building for, nuking all of their families in Ellendale.
This sister of his has a lot of plans.
Assuming that he's correct, because he's taken some big jumps here, but it kind of makes sense.
Got plans within plans.
And then there's a whole discussion about farting in the mayor's chair, which is not as amusing to me as the previous one, but it's Wayne. What are you gonna do?
It gets funny when he basically is admitting that he's farted in Wax's chair. I mean, that part's funny.
I think that Wax just can't let it go. It's like I'm mad at myself for still bringing it up, but I need to know. He's farting in my chair, Wayne.
That's when Wayne is like, come on, why are you suddenly so obsessed with what's coming out of my backside? Can't we focus on the important things?
After like several paragraphs of Wade talking about what comes out of his backside, dude.
And then Wayne notes that this is the canyon, just like that story that his mom told him. How is this tunnel a canyon? It just is. And then they come to the conclusion that the set, if they look hard enough, is going to be able to tell that someone was in the mayor's office and escaped through the trap door. They're going to know that someone found this tunnel, probably Wax, since apparently were fully aware that it was Wax. The people leaving the tire factory are all talking about Dawn Shot, and so I don't know that the distraction was that useful. It didn't cover anything, apparently.
Yeah, that's true. It's Dawn Shot. I mean, I guess at this point they're probably thinking, well, who else could it be?
Who else could it be?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
No one else is onto us.
And just as they figure this out, there's a gunshot that nearly hits Wax in the head. And it's our two friends, the coin shot from earlier and a shorter woman wearing a bowler hat. And Wayne's like, hey, will you look at that? Bad guys and snakes, both at the same time. Cut back to Marisai and her team. They reach the bottom of the elevator shaft, and there's some guards down there. And Marisai does a thing where she like ties a string to one of those cubes and then uses it to like slow the guards down so they can slip past. And then she yanks the thing and gets it back, it's very clever. I like that.
I fucking love that. I thought that was brilliant.
It's really the perfect way to not keep losing these grenades.
Call it time fishing.
Yeah. Well, I could go with that, yeah. And I like that Twin Soul was just like, before she did that, he was like, hey, you want me to kill those guys? Although he says it much more dramatically. Should I try to send them to the Aethers, their souls left to ruminate on their poor choices in this particular life?
Yeah, this Twin Souls guy is a bit dramatic, let me tell you.
He's like Calculon.
Yeah. She was worried about bringing, as she called it, an octogenarian. I don't know that we actually know his age, but she was worried about bringing him into this thing.
Yeah, he's clearly the most badass out of all three of them, so I don't know what she's worried about, but whatever.
I mean, she doesn't know it, but it's funny that if the timeline or whatever that we talked about last time was right, like the young perky girl who knows languages is like 2,000 years old. So it's like, this guy's 80. He's going to get, this is bad.
It's like, literally just talk to Jesus, and he's like 300 and something now. Well, I guess he's dead. Does that mean he's 300 years old or 300 years dead? What's the talk there?
That's an excellent question that I have no idea. Like, has he been in one body this whole time that they nailed his spirit into a body or whatever? Or do the bodies age and he has to get a new one every? There's lots of questions here.
But is it like the aging to do with the body or the mind?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, this got deep. Disregard. Moving on.
Well, it's just there's so many questions and we have no idea. And this is when Marisai is just like, you guys really are handy. And Moonlight's like, I mean, that's only a fraction of the talents that the members of the Ghost Bloods have. You'll be amazed what
Ghost Bloods. Cool band name.
Brilliant.
Ghost Bloods.
And so this organization has three tenets. One is to protect Scadrial. And they talk a little bit about, Twin Soul can't go home. We kind of established that already. He says that he joined Kelsier for an opportunity to gain allies and resources for his eventual fight against the Dark Aether. Moonlight says that she also can't go home, but she doesn't really care about that. The second tenet is that we share everything that we know with each other. There's no secrets within the team. Even Kelsier will tell you what he's planning if you ask him.
Really? Mr. There's always another secret has decreed no more secrets?
I am a little dubious. I agree.
Yeah. Like, they didn't know what he was doing up in the north, I bet. They were just like, oh, yeah, he's coming back. And he's like, yeah, I'm on an airship. And they're like, wait, what?
But by contrast, you absolutely cannot share secrets outside the organization without his permission. So
I mean, that seems pretty standard for a sort of spy protecting organization. It's like, don't tell other people stuff.
And tenet number 3 is that we trust each other completely. You never move against another ghost blood. No infighting, no betrayals. Which, that's funny. You're like, yeah, one of our rules is no betrayals. Which I think that's a rule for every organization. Just
Yeah. Don't betray me. I mean, look, Kelsier got betrayed by somebody. Still unclear. But, which led him to the pits. So I get it. No betrayals. He's doing the thing that he's always done, right? He wants to be able to have a crew that he can trust, that are filled with good people.
That's true. He was very specific about that back in the day. Is like not only people that he could trust, but people who were like at heart good people were who he wanted in his group.
Yeah, true.
So
Now,
maybe
Casey, did you sell out such and such to the pirates on the Dread Sea? No, Casey. Yes. All right, put some money in the betrayal jar.
But yes, they say that Marisai's, like, the way that she is able to operate as part of a team is one of the reasons that they like her. And not, she implied, Wax. Yeah.
Which is funny because Wax does remind me a lot of Kelsier sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe not in flippancy. I think Wayne has Kelsier's flippancy, but in terms of like just destruction of property, doing things his way, that was very much a Kelsier thing.
It's true.
Yeah.
And not giving a crap what anyone else said about it.
Yeah.
Kelsier has a lot of flair, but for the most part, I feel like he tried to do his work like undercover, like, except for when he straight up just faced the Lord Ruler head on. Before his death, I feel like that was most of the way he spent his work is in the shadows. So, like, if you were going to describe them as weapons, though, I would call Kelsier a knife, and which he used knives, and I would call Wax a sword, which I think he is referred to as. So it's like, it kind of makes sense. It's like,
yeah,
Wax is the guy who stands up and is like, I'm taking a stand. I'm going to defeat these bad guys. You're bad. I'm good. Here I come. And Kelsier is like, look, we're going to do some manipulation and do some bad stuff to make some good stuff happen.
Yeah, like if they were D&D characters, Kelsier would be the rogue and Wax would be the paladin.
Wax is very paladin-y.
Yeah.
Also, he hates windows. Maybe that could be a paladin quality.
Oh, so next time I do a D&D campaign, I should play a paladin that hates windows. Sounds good.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. I just convinced. We started a new campaign, and our old friend Shiva is the DM. I've convinced him to let me play as a dinosaur.
Okay.
I'm playing as a raptor barbarian.
Wow.
Sure.
We had in the campaign that we're playing, like, it's the area is very dinosaur heavy. There's lots of dinosaurs around, and we had a druid who could wild shape into animals, and they were very excited about all these dinosaurs that they were going to learn how to wild shape into. Then they died, but these things happen.
Yeah, D&D, it's a dangerous game.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so they spot the mayor, the Lord Mayor down here, and Marisai notes that he's slumped over, looking very worn, far less commanding and smug than he was at the police station.
Yeah, well, it's not all orgies on your pleasure ship,
Say maybe Death, like when Death left, he just came out and just punched him in the stomach on his way out.
He should have, for sure.
Like the Kandra is just helping Death get out the door, and Entrone's watching him go. It's like, man, that's fucked. And then Death just looks like, oh, hold on one second, hobbles over to Entrone and just goes boom right in the gut. Like, all right, now we can go.
And then he mutters, he's like, you're as annoying as your ancestors. I'm glad my brother killed them.
So Entrone is concerned. It's like, what do you think the chances are that she can salvage this, that she'll actually get that bomb to fly? And the engineer's like, the scientist, like, not my department. I am not an engineer. And it turned, this scientist is studying a different thing, but also we find out that there's an army of soldiers with golden skin and glowing red eyes ready to show up. Gabe says, how many? And the woman says, a lot. And Gabe has a little hissy fit where he's like, I'm supposed to be in control. She's supposed to fail, and I'm supposed to take her place.
Tantrum.
Yeah. And one of the guys is like, it's okay, you will, sir.
He's pumping him up. He's like, thanks, Mom.
Who's a great world conqueror? You're a great world conqueror.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't want to rule over Ash. Like, she's gonna destroy the whole planet. This is not that's not the way I want to win this.
I don't want an Ash planet.
And they have 2 contingents of soldiers left, but no metal blessed, as they're calling them. And Entrone's like, that woman is deliberately trying to leave me shorthand. we need some kind of military presence to corral those alien soldiers. And the scientist is like, can we? And he's like, I don't know, man. But Edward's plans were always superior. We should have been pushing for those instead of Telson's idiotic bomb. I like that even now, years after his death, people are like, man, that guy knew how to make a plan. Speaking of Edward's plans, do you want to proceed with the test? And so they have a person that they've strapped to a table, and then they spike them, but not in the traditional hemalurgic way of shoving it through like their heart or whatever and killing them to take their power. He says, we've isolated the technique Edward was on to. The process involves a very thin spike and the right mindset. You need to know what you're doing and why, and it helps to whisper a command, capital C, as you work.
Weird. I will also say I got excited here too because I was like Jamie. I thought, oh, maybe these are the ladies, but then they tell us that these people don't actually have any powers. They just have investiture in their soul innately because they're all made of preservation. Which I was like, oh, that's a good thought.
Well, that doesn't rule out the fact that they're the women though, because like they were picked for their bloodlines, so they may not necessarily have had powers, but they were from families that did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Steris, as far as we know, didn't have powers.
Sure. I think we would have figured out by now if she did.
Well, maybe.
She's been hiding it this whole time. She's going to bust it out right at the end of the book. So she's
the most powerful coin shot the world has ever seen. She actually just shoves the planet.
They have like a 6-inch spike that they thread through her back like they're sewing. And then they're like, oh, they measure it somehow. And they're like, oh, so this spike is 5% invested from that. So basically they figured out how to slice off a piece of the soul without killing them to get some investiture into a spike. He says it takes like 20 or 30 people to fully invest one. But
yeah, this makes me think of there's a scene in The Office with Dwight where he's saying that he's come up with an invention called Burger on the Go, which allows him to extract a certain portion of meat from an animal without killing it to produce like burgers. And he's like serious. He's like Sharper Image is still considering it. He says like another company, so and so is still considering it. And he's like, Sears said no.
That's disturbing.
Yeah.
So it's this to be fair.
Yeah.
And so he says that everyone is part ruin, part preservation. They have that investiture just because ruin and preservation created this planet and the people on it. And we all have a little extra preservation in there. We're pulling some of that out, which I feel like that can't be good long term. That extra preservation is what gives everyone like sentience. So pulling some of that out probably is not a great thing.
Oh, great. We've created zombies.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's going to be like Dementor time for real. Like these people get it sucked out of them and then they're like don't function anymore.
Maybe. But what they say is that you have more of that energy if you're closer genetically to being metalborn. You have that potential to be an allomancer or a ferrochemist. So if you never actually get those powers, then that extra energy is vestigial, and so we can slice it off and it's fine. But they can't make allomancers yet. They're like, we think that you have to code it in some way to give it a specific metallic art blessing, and we're still working on that part. And so Intron's like, damn it. That means that Edward's community, capital C, project here is still valuable, but we have nothing to show autonomy right now. Nothing to have an excuse not to have her army come through. This is bad. We wait for Telson to initiate her plan. We give her every opportunity, and if it doesn't work, the lab coat says, we survive. And he says, yes, we survive. Which, that's very Kelsier.
Wannabe Kelsier.
And then he waves towards the cell where they're holding a bunch of people and says, they've all heard and seen too much. Execute them. So that's nice.
Yeah, I was worried those people were going to live.
And Moonlight is like, okay, finding a way to make spikes without killing anyone, this could change everything. We have to tell Kelsier. And Marisha's like, I mean, it's still brutal. Like, you may not be murdering them, but what the and Moonlight's like, no. Look, if they're close to forging Metalborn out of raw soul power, then other investiture might work. Like, what we have in these jars instead of souls. Maybe we could use different investiture. And Twin Soul's like, yeah. So yes, important, but right now the entire planet's in danger. So maybe we focus on that first. But Marisai says we have to help the prisoners. And Moonlight says a few lives are meaningless right now. We need to keep moving. It's our way. Which is that's not the best ad for your organization where you're like, sometimes we let people die because we got more important shit to do.
Yeah. I'm chasing Hoyt across the galaxy, man. Did we pass that part already? I wanted to comment on that. That I'm pretty sure she's talking
Or she
about
says that
Hoyt.
she's keeping an eye on like one particular enemy of the Ghost
Yeah,
Club.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
Hoyt. Which makes me think this is definitely Shy.
Absolutely.
Like it's all coming together now.
Yep. Like she even said in her opening scenes, like, am I keeping an eye on him or is he keeping an eye on me? It's like, so
Right.
that's clearly the specific enemy she's looking at.
It really seems that way. I agree. So now, anytime Hoyt shows up, it's gonna be like, wait, is Moonlight around here somewhere watching him? If he shows up in other books or whatever, which he shows up in every book, so presumably.
Yeah. Well, we don't know. Does he?
I was gonna say,
you
if.
have to. Yeah, we don't know. He may not show up in Tress. I have no idea.
Yeah, you have no idea. It's true. Maris says, like, there's only 2 guards. Like, we can take them out. Come on. You wanted to kill those 2 guys earlier. This will be easy. And Moonlight says, look, if anything goes wrong, even like a single gunshot, it'll start shit down here. We don't want anyone to know we're here. And Marisai is like, well, it's a risk that I got to take. So either I'm going to do it alone or you can come. It doesn't matter. And Moonlight's like, fine, let's do it fast. And then we go to Steris. And Steris had heard that in a fire, the rats were often the first creatures out, which is such a perfect comparison to what's happening here. But she's watching Lady Gardry, who she's decided was a member of the set. And she's like, as long as she's still here, then I don't think the city's in imminent danger of exploding, because she wouldn't be here if she's a member of the set and she knows the bomb's coming. So when she leaves, that's when stuff is bad. And right then is when somebody comes in and whispers something to her, and she's like, yeah, I got to go deal with something. I'll be right back. And Steris like, yeah, she's not coming back.
It's like, city's about to blow up. Oh, I need to go take care of something.
And
Bye.
she says this right as Tensoon is coming in with the bands, so no one cares or notices. Although that should really be a big clue. It's like, hey, she's not interested in the bands. Like,
yeah, right. This mythical thing. It's like, oh yeah, whatever. I've seen them before. I mean, what?
I got shit to do. And Adawathwin's immediately like, let me do it. Let me walk Harmony's path. I am a metalborn, a faring of the mind. Which I don't know which faring power she has, because I think there's like 4 different mental powers, or that you would call of the mind. But I guess she is a faring.
Part of me thinks like, well, she's basically the governor's spin doctor, so that makes me think mental speed. But then like, well, that can't be right, because if that were the case, he would never get away with anything. And in like the council meeting, accepting the bribe, she had to openly facepalm because he fucked up that bad.
It's true.
So I'm ruling out mental speed.
And
She was a little bit keen for my liking, though.
Right? She's very, very keen. It's a little shady, actually. Of course, she's been extremely shady this whole time, so I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess this is all a bit like, this is like openly really shady, and it's, yeah. You wouldn't, if you were really keen to be the one that did it or whatever, you would put your hand up later. Like, little shit play out first.
Right.
I don't know. Just a bit weird.
But the ambassador is still like, you guys cannot do this. We had a deal. You can't use them. And they're like, but this is a disaster. Like, we're going to use it to save the city. Like, you can't expect us to just die because of the deal that we made with you. And so he's like, okay, I have authority to negotiate. How about this? If you use them, then they get turned over to us, and we get to use them during a disaster of our choosing. How about that? And then, no war. And everyone turns to Tensoon, and he's like, I mean, if you humans want to make that deal, then fine. And the governor's just like, yep, okay, we're in. And so Tensoon says, this is where he's trying to explain their theoretical, how maybe the powers combined together could be used. We believe there's a way to transport objects large distances using a conflux of metalborn powers. It's a thing Harmony doesn't yet understand himself, but maybe someone feeling the transcendent power of the bands could solve the puzzle. Which that is it's like, yeah, even God's not really sure how it would work, but maybe you guys can figure it out. That's a big thing to bet everything on, but okay. And then they let Adawathwin take them. Like, okay, I mean, you're so interested in being the one to do it. All right, go ahead. And she's like, how do I make it go? And they can't make them work. They pass them around. Nobody can get it to work. And Tensoon, with horror, is like, they're drained. Something has happened. How? I mean, we know that Wax said that they were close to being drained. Like, he sucked up a bunch of power, but
yeah,
that shouldn't. I mean, you should still be able to like use allomancy or whatever, even if the stores of ferrochemy are drained. And Dahl touches them, and he's like, "It's true. What have you been using these in secret?"
Dahl had some device to make them not work or something.
It does.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they've got like a something like one of those grenade things that like drains everything within the area. So no one, if you don't have an Allomancer here, no one else would necessarily notice that like the air, you couldn't use Allomancy in the area or something. I don't know. And so he's like, well, we're taking these. We had a deal. And they're like, but we didn't get to save our city. And he's like, whatever. We had a deal.
Yeah, just because you failed to use them that's not our problem. You still tried to.
And Steris is here like, this is a practiced speech. Like, I have prepared enough stuff to say in conversations beforehand that I can tell.
Didn't that all work out just a
prep.
little bit too nicely?
Mm.
You know, Joel didn't get to do this, and oh no, I've got the bands back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But she makes an excellent point where it's like, how could he have prepared for this? Like, how could he have known that this was going to happen? It's bizarre that like he could have guessed that they were going to have to try to use the bans and that they could stop them. Maybe that's why he wanted to be in this meeting. He knew something like this might happen, but it's very weird. And he's like, okay, I'm going to take him. And the governor's like, I don't know if I can allow that. And Tensoon's like, well, I don't know if you can forbid it. You agreed. And Dahl's like, maybe the faceless mortals can be impartial. I had not believed it. It does seem like Harmony has favored the North in general and not done a lot for the South that we know of. So his servants being impartial is kind of a surprise to me too.
That might have been like
well, he obviously screwed up the geography just like Rashek did originally. So
I thought that that's Kelsey's domain, like, and he and Sace have a deal. It's like, you don't come near my stuff, I don't come near yours.
Maybe that would make sense, I guess. And so Steris is like, this is some sort of Malwish ploy separate from everything else that's happening. And the big problem is, even if she's completely right, there's nothing they can do about it. And even if there was something they can do about it, they don't have time right now because there's a bomb coming to destroy the city. So the ambassador just like takes the bands under his arm and he's like, I'm leaving. Governor, if you want to come, this is your chance. Any of you who want to can join me. And Adawathwin is out the door. Like, I'm in. I'm gone.
Peace.
bye.
And the governor's sitting here like, maybe we're making a mistake here. And Reddy's like, are you a betting man? Because I am. And I've learned never to bet against Dawnshot. If he says there's a bomb pointed at us, there is. And Steris is like, I have plans, citywide emergency plans for various disasters. I had free time a few summers ago and was bored. I have plans to completely evacuate the city. We can't leave. We have to protect the city. And Dahl's like, dude, are you coming? You not coming? Like, what are we doing? And the governor is the one guy who she convinces. She's like, Governor, you are the captain of the city, this nation. I need your authority to save as many people as possible. There'll be time to escape later. For now, help me save the city.
Way to go, Steris.
Time for you to earn those medals, dickhead.
Right? This is Steris, clutch Steris, and perfectly in her wheelhouse, where she's like, I came up with detailed plans for evacuation of the city while I was bored and had finished our taxes for the next year. And she makes this speech, and he's like, okay, I want to try. Where do we start? Steris just continues to be best character.
Yep.
And then we are into the fight. Our last chapter, chapter 49, is the fight in the sewer. And Wax and Wayne get a moment to try to like plan stuff out. Not Wayne, as he calls her, is like, oi, we can't shoot you if you keep hiding. Come out so we can get on with killing you, mates. And he's just like, that is such an awful accent. It's not a rough accent at all. It's like this other weird combination of accents. And he's like, what the hell is going on with those two? And Wax is like, I suspect the set realized they would need to face us. So they spike some of their members with powers to match ours and train them to fight us. And he's like, yeah, but she's not just trying to fight me. She's trying to be me. Like, is yours weird like that? And he's like, no, I don't think so. And so, so they Wax recommends that they try to stay in close and get a bubble up that catches all four of them so that the steel guy can't like steel push out, can't make any big jumps. If they're in tight quarters, maybe it'll keep things contained and easy for them to use their experience to come out ahead. And they when they're ready, they run out there. Just as the bubble drops, they dive down to dodge some bullets, and then they go into the fight. And we won't go all blow by blow because it's not really necessary, although there's some great bits. She's like, "Oh, that's cheating." He's like, "You ain't me. Don't pretend that you're me." The relationship between Wayne and Gertruda, I believe, is what we found out her name was, is just so odd.
Yeah, I'm still leaning into like she's got to be and like one of the kids of the guy he kills, like trying to just like really fuck with his head as much as possible.
Wow, that'd be weird, especially when she gets shot in the face later.
Right?
Yeah.
She'll be back.
She says she hates doing this sober. Maybe we should grab a pint and then have at this again in a right proper state of mind. And he's like, "I drink with bastards, liars, and fools, but I draw the line at someone like me." And she's like, "Oh, I'm doing well then? I'm you?" And he's like, "No, you're worse. You're someone who wants to be me."
And I'm the worst.
And I guess the other guy's name is Dumod, because she says, "Hope old Dumod is doing all right. I done stole some of his metal vials without telling him." And Wayne's like, "I don't steal. Sorry,
Liar.
I borrowed it. I don't borrow neither."
Liar.
He trades, okay? It's completely different from any of that stuff.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
That he's a
And
liar.
then she says what I'm thinking, where she's like, "I love that you're more worried about me imitating you poorly than you are about me trying to kill you. It's so you, Wayne."
Yeah, I don't know why, but I'm much more annoyed by her than Wayne. I think he's right. I think it is worse when it's somebody trying to be him as opposed to just being him.
I find her extraordinarily creepy, and so I don't like her. But
Creepy and intolerable. And I hate to use this crutch again because we already did this with Fake Moonlight, but I feel like she's like the anime character that's obsessed with the main character, but also is super creepy and weird and evil. All of those things. It's very anime.
And she says that she's been studying Wayne for years. Freewheeling Wayne, always ready with a joke, snatching what he sees, chasing the girls, living his life without consequences, just here for the fun and the booze. Which,
It's not untrue.
it's not untrue, except for the fact that, like, under all of that is something very different.
But that's why I think it'd be perfect when it turns out that she, like, if she turns out to be like the daughter of the guy he killed, he's just like, "Oh, where's the pain that drives you to do this?" And she goes, "It's right here, dickhead," and spells it out. I think that would just be like a great little knife twist. So
It's true. That would be really kind of perfect.
I'm going to be absolutely heartbroken when it turns out that's not the case. But yeah, I don't know. Yes, I think this girl is creepy and evil and stuff, but it's like, you're kind of calling Wayne on all the stuff I've wanted people to call him on for a couple books now, so I can't hate
I don't
you.
like you, but I'm kind of on your side.
Yeah. It's like, do I agree with your methods? No, but you make some good points.
And he mutters, "Yeah, and the pain." And she's like, "I mean, you get used to exploding now, don't you?" That's not quite what he meant, but I mean, I'm sure that does hurt. And he's like, "She was stronger than he was, faster than he was, younger than he was, and better with the canes." So that's unfortunate. Really, in their previous fight, he discovered that, like, she hadn't practiced, like, grappling or whatever, and he was kind of good at that. So I would kind of go for that again if I was him. Okay, and then Wax gets knocked out of the speed bubble, which is what he was trying to convince Wayne they should do to the other guy, to Dumod. So that's unfortunate. Now they're doubling up on Wayne. And Dumod shows up, shoots some coins at Wayne, and tells her, "You are inefficient, Gertruda. You play with him. You simply need to hit him repeatedly until his health runs out." Wayne's like, "Death, I bet you 50 clips I survived this." Which, he's like, when you're about to die, you may as well make that bet. So.
Yeah.
And then Wayne has his speech as he pushes forward as the coins are moving through his body, which is super disturbing. "Ain't nothing can hurt me more than life already has. You can't kill me. I'm already dead. I've been dead for years, sister. It's easy to do what you do since you don't care, so long as you can pretend. But real pain comes when you realize what you are, what you done. This pain, that's pain. Anything else, anything you could do to me, that's just a little bit of fun." And Dumod's kind of freaking out as Wayne's smile widens.
Understandably.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to be crazier than the people you're trying to fight. And then they're like, "Wait, what's happening now?"
And as the coins rip throughout his back, he drops the speed bubble, and they hadn't noticed. And Wax comes in and puts a haze killer round into Not Wayne's face, one of those ones with the secondary explosion that blows off half of her skull. And then he shoots Dumod in the chest, leaving a big, like the bullet goes all the way through him, leaves a big old hole. The coin shot did not fall. And Wayne's like, pewter? Did he have pewter too? And so the two of them, he grabs the girl, I guess, and the two of them take off. And Wayne thinks that she might be dead, she might not. Headshots were tricky. It depends on the damage that gets done. I feel like a bullet that goes into your head and explodes should kill you. I'm just saying. If you don't die from that, that's so unfair. It's like Miles stuff.
Oh, yeah, I'm convinced she'll be back. They've intentionally left it vague there. So it's like,
Yep.
well, I say they. Brandon has left it vague there.
The proverbial day.
And I love that Wayne's first question is like, Wax, how are you not covered in mud? I saw you roll. And he's like, oh, yeah, I pushed off a bullet and managed to, keep myself out of the mud. But Wax is like, did you mean that stuff you were just saying? And Wayne says, no, of course not. Wax is like, Wayne, I think we might need to talk. And he's like, no time. Man, I feel old. I'm supposed to be the spry one. He says, you're 39, Wayne. It catches up to you. You infected me, you did. I never felt old working with Marisai. And he makes it like, Wax is like, I infected you with being old. That's ludicrous even for you. And I think Wayne makes an interesting point where he's like, no, you started thinking of yourself as old and it drilled into my head. Ideas is infectious, which that's kind of true. I mean, he actually has a little bit of a point here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I get that.
Yeah, no, I've always actually said this. I say, well, my brother's not old. He's older than me, so I'm not old. That's how I always think of it.
There you go. And Wax is like, dude, we need to talk about the way that you've been feeling lately. And he's like, yeah, whatever, later. Because if there's a lab at the end of this and they know we're down here, they're clearing it out right now. So we need to get there. But we must be on the right trail, otherwise they wouldn't have tried so hard to stop us. So that's he says, I'm glad we're done with the canyon, but the hardest part is coming up the mesa, which is going to gobble you up. Remember to choke it from the inside. And Wax, despite still having no idea what the hell he's talking about, is just like, okay, yeah, I'll do my best. And that's the end of our chapters.
I think that's just Wax. Wax is just like man, I'm actually really worried about Wayne's mental health. I'll just humor him on this one.
I think it's the best when, Wayne is always ridiculous. When Wax is just like, I'm not even going to fight it. I'll just go along with it. It's the fastest way through this. That's at least the best stuff. All right. So we had some setup stuff, some information come out, and then a nice big action set piece of misery and pain. So where are we going next? What's going to happen?
Predicaments. Yeah, I'm going to hold – I mentioned this before. I'm going to hold strong to my Wayne prediction. He's either going to die or fake his death, but I think this is the last ride for Wayne and Wax, at least together. So I think there's a lot of foreshadowing to kind of allow for that theory to be pretty possible. What I don't know if the army's going to show up, this red and gold army. It'd almost be anticlimactic for them to not show up at this point. Maybe we see them, but maybe they don't actually invade. Like they come into the planet and they're like hanging out, but then something happens to like send them packing. I don't know.
Like the Chitaurian Avengers.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, yeah, I really don't know how that army is going to fit into it. I don't know if they're going to catch up with Entrone, especially if they're saving people. Because it's like, well, how do they get these people out safely and stuff? And
right.
I'm not exactly sure how that'll play out. But let's see, what else is there at this point? Yeah, the band's being drained. I feel like even if they are drained, somehow Dahl must know that they're still valuable, like they can be charged, because they obviously charge like medallions and stuff.
Right.
So I bet you he knows something about how to charge the bands with stuff. So he's pulling one over on them. He might have even known this whole time that they were useless, whether or not they were being leached in that room. He might have known, or maybe Adawathwin really is part of the set, and she spiked, so she leached the bands because she's the one who touched them first.
It's true, she did.
That would be, on brand. But that's really all I've got. I mean, we've got a good amount of book to go, so really anything could still happen.
For some reason, when you said like maybe we'll see them and they'll get pushed back or whatever, my first thought was like in the Ninja Turtles cartoon when Krang's always trying to open a portal to Dimension X and bring his armies through. And then it's like you see the portal open and there's these like all these rock soldiers and tanks ready to come through, and then the turtles like close it before they get through or whatever.
Just imagine you hear one of the rock soldiers just go, "Ah, damn it, not again!"
It's like, how long are we gonna have to sit here on this battlefield waiting for this portal to open?
We've been here for months. We're running out of rations.
Yeah, it's like all I've had is maggoty bread for 3 stinking days.
Yeah, so my theory here is I think Autonomy has actually played the field a bit, and Admiral Dahl is actually one of her agents. Because I feel like, she's quite happy when like her agents are playing off against each other as long as their ambitions are big enough. So she's got the set empowered, but she's been aware that from the start, whereas people in Elendel haven't, that there are other people on the planet. So she's like, well, I'm going to imbue like the set up here on the north end, and maybe I'll go down and find like a militaristic branch on the southern end and get them as well, because hopefully from one side of the planet or the other, someone can set things up to wipe out this planet for me. And Dahl seems like he fits that bill. He's a war hawk, but he's smart, and his ambition is to find some way to trick the Elendel people to give him the bands, and Autonomy's got to respect. Wow, you're going after the weapon of the gods? All right, that sounds pretty ambitious for me. Let's see how you do. So I don't know why the bands are drained. I feel like Autonomy's had some hand in that somehow, but yeah, I think she set up Dahl to be like her agent on the southern end of the planet. So now he's gonna he's basically trying to start the war himself, so that Autonomy's got people on all fronts. So yeah,
that would be. I mean, I hadn't really thought about that at this point. That Autonomy, if she's smart, would have other people working in different areas to make sure that she's not putting all her eggs in one basket, as it were.
Yeah, and like she might be more lenient towards those people because they're not like other shard people. I mean, they seem like they were forgotten by Ruin and Preservation and the original Lord Ruler, and then Harmony forgot about him as well. So just like no, like these guys don't have a shard in their corner, so I can easily set myself up as their shard, because I feel like she's like, I don't give a crap about this guy Kelsier. Like, who the fuck's he think he is? He had preservation, then he dropped it like a pansy. So so she just doesn't think very much of him at all. He's like, this is just some dude who got stuck in the cognitive realm. What the fuck do I care?
I love that outlook. That's great. I want to hear her thoughts on Kelsier specifically.
Yeah, that's all I got this time. But I'm really suspicious of Dahl. It was like when Steris said, "Oh, he's practiced that speech." I'm just like, he knew this was coming. Harmony put him up. Not Harmony. Fucking Autonomy put him up to this.
It's so weird that, like I said, like she thinks he knew that it was coming, and we trust Steris. We trust her read on the situation. But it's just like, how could there's something more going on there? Absolutely, there has to be. But what exactly it is, I mean, it's a very interesting. There's lots of possibilities there.
Yes, I mean, I was definitely thinking that Dahl had some kind of involvement as well to give a speech, and like I said, we're trusting Steris's read on the situation. I was like, how would they have not known it was drained? Could they tell it was drained previously? What was the custodianship of the bands when they got handed over? Like, did Wax give it directly to the Kandra?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if that was the case or not.
Yeah, I don't know that we know.
Yeah, or if the Malwish handed them over. I think Tensoon said or someone said in this chapter that they were actually in some form of case. Like, he's not just carrying around the bands. Like, this arrowhead came out, and Steris was describing it. If it's something that you actually have to touch to see if it's got a power, and everyone's made this agreement that they're not going to touch them or do anything with them, I was actually thinking more along the lines of they didn't hand the original bands over. So he knew they weren't going to work because that he had this speech prepared because they know they've already got the bands and they're the ones that have been experimenting with them. They now have got this. They've pulled the bands out to use them. Haha, you've used the bands. We've already made this agreement now that we can use the bands, and that will mysteriously work. Or something will happen to them. I don't know, because they've had them the whole time. It's like, no, it's all fair. You were given an opportunity. You couldn't make them work. here we go. We've done it now. So I don't know if someone's leeching the power or whether it's a setup there, but it just depends whether they've actually been able to touch it since as the Kandra or not. Because Tensoon was even horrified. I was like, okay, so he doesn't know about it. My other thought, and the more I think about it, it's the more out there option, which probably will not work out for me. Could the power within the bands have effectively been removed from the bands and then been given to Wax in the vials? I don't know that it would work that way because the vials are metal, but is it possible that somehow someone has intervened on Harmony's behalf? So the bands are there, no one's using the bands, but they've taken like the investiture out of the bands and put it into something else. I don't know that that would even work on a band's, like on a item scale, but we know we can take investiture out of a person and put it into something else. So is it possible that Wax has actually got that power, but he doesn't know he's got it until he goes to use it? Or
Interesting.
so he's like, use these last because they're more powerful? I don't know. But Wax has to be a Mistborn now because they don't have the powers.
You're like, somebody has to be now.
The backup option is gone. We must have a Mistborn here. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all the thoughts that I had in this that are new. Again, talking about Wayne, it's really not looking good for him. But the story for was it Nikki Savage's story or Nacelle Savage?
Mhm.
You know, it's like shopping at Target, really, isn't it? Is that maybe the way Wayne would go? Is there some foreshadowing in this story? Not sure. You know, they're finding perpendicularities because I would probably read a lot about Wayne going through the Cosmere. I think that could be an interesting thing. So it's maybe not that he dies, but it's maybe that he lives on, or maybe he joins Kelsey's band of merry people. He's learned a lot from Marasai. He's really enjoyed working with Marasai. Maybe that's something that he would like to do.
He keeps secrets from people all the time. Kelsey wouldn't stand for that. Like, have you, Wayne? Did you fart in my chair? No, Wayne.
Wait, why are all of the like jars of purified door now been replaced with like moonshine?
Yeah, fair.
Yep.
I think fundamentally, though, he's a good person. He's got a good heart, and yeah.
Oh,
I
you
don't
know. We've been reading this all wrong. Wayne's adventures through the Cosmere. It's like he won't be the new Death. He won't join Kelsey's band or anything. He'll be the next Hoyd. He'll be Hoyd's apprentice. Because Hoyd seemed to like him, so maybe like Hoyd's just like, you know what, man, you come with me. We can mess things up together.
Well, that's it. Maybe they have had a conversation about that. That would be kind of funny.
They could have had that conversation in the truck, and then it ends with the like, that's what I know about pickling vegetables.
Yeah.
I really like these two ideas you have about the bands, because those were not things that had occurred to me at this point, because like the one idea that they've had, like the South's had them all along, and that's how he would know that he had to make that speech. That's a really good thought, and I don't know if it's possible. Like you said, I don't know. It didn't seem like Wax was willing to hand them the bands before giving them over to the Kandra. So how they would have, or when they would have made that swap, I don't know. But that makes the most sense to me for how Dahl would be like, I know that they're not going to work, and I'll have this prepared. Although it wouldn't make any sense for why he was, when he first met Wax, he was all up in arms about like, you have the bands and we want them back and blah, blah, blah. Like, we should have had them all along. Like, why would you make a big stink if you knew that the ones that they had were not the real ones? Like, just don't say anything.
Misdirection.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you make a stink?
Make himself look like very obviously like the aggrieved party.
Yeah.
So that no one suspects him.
I think it more likely because Meilon was with them when they discovered the band, so I just assumed he handed them to Meilon to give to the Kandra at that time. And we know Meilon would have followed through with that task.
Meilon would have for sure.
Yeah.
Has anyone else infiltrated the homeland? Do we have any other Kandra out there who are maybe not quite operating on the same wavelength?
Yeah.
We know that autonomy could get to the Kandra.
Oh, another bleeder.
I like your
Swapping
set
out.
idea. That's cool. Like if Dahl was part of the set, I think it more likely from that maybe Dahl just knows, like all the Malwish know scripturally, like they have enough information through their religion to know how the bands work a little bit more than the people there do in Ellendale. It's like they know, like, yeah, it runs out, but you can recharge it, this way.
Mm.
I guess it's like recharging your the Marisai's little cubes or elementic grenades.
Yeah, the cubes
something-
or any of their medallion things or any of that stuff.
Good point.
Yeah. I mean, there also the whole time that we've been since they suggested that they use the bands here, we've been talking to Tensoon, and he's been like, Harmony's busy right now, but so he's kind of making these decisions. It's entirely possible that like Harmony did do something or arranged for something to happen and didn't tell Tensoon because, well, I mean, why would you necessarily need to tell Tensoon that you're doing something with the bands? You're having someone else do something with the bands if you don't anticipate that, this situation is coming. So that thought that's like, something else happened to them, somebody else, whether or not it's like they secretly gave them to Wax in vials or whatever, it's possible that Harmony could have done something with them. Interesting.
Kelsey rocks back up to Says and it's like, hey, like those bands that I left behind, like I noticed they're not at the temple. Did you take those by chance? And Says like, no.
Bands? No, never seen such bands.
No. See, look over there. Tensoon's got it. Oh, cool, thanks. And then he goes and like talks to Tensoon. And Tensoon's like, man, it was empty when we found it.
Bands? What do you mean bands? I don't know.
And Kelsey's just like, empty? What the? Says, what did you do? Nothing, man.
He's like, this is my
Sorry,
plan,
carry the
bitch.
bad line,
Leave me alone.
Kelsey, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, going through a tunnel. Says, you exist outside of tunnels.
I can't hear you. Bye.
Sorry, there's autonomy on the other line. Let me get back to you.
Just and then you'll be saved. Wait, I didn't hear the important part. Just and then you'll be saved. But I'm not getting it.
The treasure is buried at.
So okay, yeah, those are some good ideas. There's all sorts of shady things going on between Dahl and Adawathwin, and who's in the set, who's not in the set, what's going on. There's who knows. It's hard to even make a good guess because there's so much we don't know, and everyone seems like that they're up to something. All right, let's move towards wrapping up. There's one email that came in, short email that I want to do this week, and
sweet.
then we will move into reviews and patrons and such. So we got an email from Krista about Bendeloy cooks. Krista says, just started the Lost Metal and wanted to point out that I too thought of how useful Bendeloy would be while behind a grill. Anyway, should be caught up soon. Can't wait to see where the story develops and what wild theories you make along the way. That's it. It's such a fun little random thing in the broadsheet that I think caught all of our attention, where it's like, wow, like a fast food cook that's a slider.
Yeah, like
No pun intended.
Yeah.
A slider making sliders.
Yeah.
Be the most efficient White
How
Castle
do you think
of
we
all
got the
time.
term sliders?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's been there all along.
That.
So thank you, Krista. If anyone else wants to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can leave comments on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, all that sort of place, and I will get back to you if you have questions or read them on the air if we have emails like that sort of thing. Next up, we have one new review. This one is from Sweden, and the reviewer is called Handlandenas. Says, one of the best Cosmere podcasts around. The Sanderlanche podcast is one of the best ways to experience the Cosmere. Whether you're a first-time reader or an experienced Sander fan looking to relive the joy of discovering the books for the first time, this is the podcast for you. The host Data does a wonderful job of introducing Sanderson's world in an understandable way, while first-time readers Jamie, Joe, and Dak all bring interesting perspectives and theories ranging from hauntingly accurate to ridiculously inaccurate. In this podcast, you'll experience everything from volcanoes and possum hunters to Futurama and Final Fantasy. Sometimes they even talk about the Cosmere.
Because this is shrouded in mystery to me, I'm going to give you the smoker power. You're smoking it up. Toke, toke.
All right. And then we have one new patron at the ska level. Sarah.
Sarah. You know, we talked about our boy Wayne not being able to heal. Maybe that's what you are. You're a blood maker.
Ooh, I feel like we haven't seen that many of those. It's okay.
Is that what the fairing's called, or is blood maker the compounder name?
I'm pretty sure that's the fairing name. I'll look it up just to be sure. But yeah, bloodmaker.
What's the compounding term that Miles was? I forget.
I don't think that we know that.
Did they not say it in the first book? I thought they did.
I don't think so. I think the only like twin-born combination name that we know is Wax's. I don't think we've ever heard Wayne's. I don't think we've ever heard anyone else's. We know from the first book that they Alloy of Law that all the twin-born combinations have names because Wayne claims that he's memorized them all. But I think Crasher for Wax is the only one that we've actually heard. So, all right. That is all of that stuff. Sorry, I got distracted because I'm Sarah, who backed us on Patreon. Her avatar is a very cute dog, and so then I had to get a closer look at this puppy.
That's fair.
Yeah, you know. So for next time, we are going to read 8 chapters next time. So chapters 50 through 57.
Good lord.
Ooh.
Yeah. There are some pretty short chapters in there. The first 2 chapters in this section were actually quite short.
Yes.
So
But I feel like the fight scene
it'll be one of those again. Yes, that was longer. Oh, although actually the middle chapter 47 is actually the longest one. I think that may be. I think that's the Marasai. That's the one where they discover like the people having their souls cut off or whatever.
I did notice when I started that chapter, it said like 18 or 19 minutes when most of the chapters had said like 13 or 14 max. So it's like, oh yeah, this one looks longer.
We are now 66% of the way through this book, so we're exactly 2/3 of the way through. We are rapidly approaching the end of Mistborn as we know it, as it currently exists.
Wow.
And then we'll be moving into some other things.
Pretty amazing to finish a book on this podcast only, 2, 3, 4 months after it was published?
Yeah.
But yes, it's kind of an amazing new thing for us, finishing a book that's just come out like this. Which in all likelihood it'll be the last time we're doing that for a while. Although I know we haven't seen all the secret projects yet, so who knows what could happen with there. I don't think Tress will be anytime soon, but the other ones could be.
I did see we got the update email about how their books, like the books are shipping, and a lot of them are done. In fact, Dash, who is like DM for that game I'm playing, he's got his physical copy. He held it up to show us when we played on Monday. So like, hopefully that means ours isn't too far away.
Right? I want mine.
Yeah, I want mine too. I haven't got it.
So yeah.
I did see the hardcover for what was that leather bound that you just got, Data?
I just got, it was the combination. It was the 2, Alloy of Law and Shadows of Self.
Yeah, it was really cool. It had some really cool artwork at the front.
They are very pretty, yeah. So, music by Miracle of Sound. Get that out there. 8 chapters for next time. I already talked about find us on all the places. If you want to check out our Patreon, we are still in the middle of me posting my thoughts on The Lost Metal Tress of the Emerald Sea as I read it for the first time. Chapters 16, 17, and 18 came out 3 days ago. So I'm doing 3 chapters at a time there and discussing that. So you can check that out if you want to see our Patreon. But we appreciate everyone who supports us there. We appreciate everyone sending emails, everyone chatting on the Discord, lots of fun stuff going on there, and just everyone who's involved and listening to the show. We appreciate all of you. So thanks everybody. Our big 8 chapters for next time, for episode 10 of this book, and wasing to the time of next. Colo.